Good morning, everybody. Thank you. I know a lot of you come here to understand about this tech talk, and you have huge expectation on this show. Let me not disappoint you. I will start with something interesting. I'm going to show you some map where this map shows two political parties contesting each other in 2008 US elections. Look at this map. I'm going to ask you a simple question to all of you. By looking at this map, tell me which party have won the elections. I will give you 5 quick seconds. Red party or blue party? Thank you. Imagine you are looking at this map for the very first time. You might have thought red party have won the election by a huge margin. But that's not real case. This is a classical mistake people make when they're reading the data. It's called Montana problem. We strongly believe facts speak for themselves, but often the truth only appears when we flip the narrative and look from the other side. What if I have to tell you the numbers you have always trusted were lying to you? We say data never lies, but sometimes how we read the data can fool us. Numbers don't lie, but stories we tell with that numbers do lie. Have you ever believed any chart, statistics, headline, any numbers, only to later realize the truth was completely different? Misleading statistic usually doesn't look like a fake, but it appears to be perfect fit. We often accept stories, especially when it comes from the source we trust the most. The real danger is not the numbers, but the stories we build around with the numbers. Come to this Montana problem. The actual illusion here is that most of the Americans live in rural with very few people living in it. That's why it looks like sea of red roses. But Americans choose to live close together in cities and suburbs like New York, San Francisco, Chicago, and many cities. Why this map is misleading us? Because this gives equal weightage to every square mile, whether it is an empty farmland or it's a crowded city. Numbers are reliable, but stories are flexible. Let me tell you 3 simple stories that will show you how the same facts can sound completely different, depends on how we frame them. Story number 1. Think of any of your city or town from your country where unemployment drops to 0 overnight. Sounds like a political win, isn't it? But here, what if people have moved away from the city? Everybody in the town have left the city. The number is technically correct. Unemployment is 0, still 0, but people have moved away from the city. This number is technically correct, but the story it tells is completely false. This is not a made-up story for all of you. Most of the time, when I was scrolling today, gold price is skyrocketing. Unemployment hits 4% in our country. It is not because of real unemployment reaches 4%. If you take this example, in 2000, labor force participation rate was at 67%. But in same 2023, labor force participation rate was 63%, meaning people either would have moved away from the city, they would have wanted to pursue their own entrepreneurship or somewhere else. Not that real unemployment has gone to some percentage. Think for a moment. The big idea is to understand the true context, not relying on one number. Just ask the follow-up question to get the full context. That's the difference between reading the headline and understanding the whole article. I'm telling you, understand the article, not just by reading the headlines. Same numbers, but when we flip, two different stories. Correct? Let me go to the second story. Sometimes, most important data is the data we can't see at all, the unseen data. Let me take you to some history. During World War II, US military was losing big time flying over enemy territory. They wanted to add armors to the planes, meaning that guns on the planes, because they don't want to lose too much of planes flying over enemy territory. So they had to put armors, guns on the planes. But too much of armors in the plane make planes slow and less efficient. So they naturally collected the data. They examined all the planes which was coming from the mission. They could understand a lot of planes hit on the tails and the wings, but not on the engines and cockpits, were almost untouched. So what's the obvious conclusion here? Reinforce the area with most damages. But before the military had to implement armors in the planes, they had to consult with one of a famous mathematician, Mr. Abraham. Abraham closely looked into this data and asked the brilliant question. What's the brilliant question? Where is the missing data? The missing data is the planes which must never come back from the mission. Military had to only study only the survivors, which could be hit but still make it home. Planes hit on the engines and cockpits were never returned from the mission. This is called survivorship bias. The mistake of focusing only on people and things get made through. We forget to see unseen data. Think for a moment, our culture loves to celebrate entrepreneurs, billionaires, but when we forget to listen to unsuccessful stories. We read a lot of biographies and motivation theories from YouTube, wherever we see this. But we forget to listen why they failed. We never ask, why did they fail? In India, or in any country for that matter, most of the startup founders had one failure before they get into the successful venture. So Abraham carefully listened all of this, asked a rational question. Ignore the data, whatever you see. Put the armors in the flights wherever the holes are not there. Meaning, he was not biased, he was not blindfolded. Let me take you to small medical mystery. Imagine there are two procedures for a doctor. Procedure A is traditional surgery. Procedure B is keyhole surgery. And doctor has to treat for the patients for the kidney stones, And we collected the data from large number of patients. And the question is very simple. Which one do you think it works better in both the cases? For example, stones less than 2 centimeters, which is a small stones. Procedure A is at 93% success. For a kidney stones, more than 2 centimeters, again, procedure A is at 73% success. Correct? Procedure A has got a good wins than procedure B. But wait, look at the procedure B, overall numbers. How come the overall numbers, 82% has, procedure B has got a more success than the procedure A? You know what? This is nothing but the numbers that hides inside the truth. It's a story's choice. It is because of doctors tend to use risky operations by traditional surgery and easy wins through keyhole surgery. Numbers don't carry informations, it carries stories. Especially stories depends on who is holding the microphone. I will tell you one no-brainer. If I were a drug promoter of procedure B, what do you think, which number I will show you? 82%, because I wanted to show only the procedure B as the highest point. Flip side, if I were a promoter of drug procedure A, what would I show you? I will show you the subgroup numbers. Correct? Because I am holding the microphone here. It's choice of the storyteller. What do I want to show you? I will show you. I told you in the beginning, these numbers will make us happy, but this happiness may hide little truth inside the numbers. How this world, made up of flawed numbers. Our board exam pass rates are at 98%. Wow, our kids must be learning, right? True. At what percentage of kids are really learning, giving exams, and at what percentage kids are memorizing the answers, giving their exams? India produces millions of engineers every year. True that. But at what percentage of engineers getting jobs soon after their graduation? Most of the companies, almost 50% of the companies do say, not all the engineers do have skills to be hired. Tomorrow, maybe your headline screams, cancer rates are at 98%, all-time high. But that doesn't mean that people are affected by the cancer. Maybe people would have got earlier access to healthcare system. Meaning, they would have started screening program than ever before, which leads to the lower death rate. It's not that cancer is at 98%. We have reduced the death rate. You know what? We often assume that our stock markets are skyrocketing. Gold rate is this much. Inflation is high. GDP is high. So we think that our economy must be booming too, correct? Not that all the connections hold the same way. Because of banks reduced lower interest rate, people would have pulled out their money from the banks, put it in the stock market. Hence, stock market is also rising. Tomorrow, when you see any numbers, one of your favorite actor, actress movie got 100 crores collection, GDP is at 5-7%, inflation is this much, your rupee is at against dollar is this much. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, are we celebrating a genuine growth, or is just a story shaped up by the policymakers and the promoters? The data is not describing our world. It shapes up our world. The story we tell with the data can tell you the real truth, or it can plainly hide some hidden truth also. That's why flipping the narrative matters, always matters. Start asking this question, what does this data say? Don't ask, what does this data say? Ask for, what does this data mean? That's where the real shift of being an passive reader of information to become an active interrogator. I will tell you 3 simple steps. How do I become an active interrogator? First step, what is not there in the data? What and who is missing from the data? Remember the story of planes. The missing data was the planes which never came back from the mission. Ask what is missing from the data. Second is, what is the hidden context? What definitions are being used? It is not that unemployment has gone to zero. It is because people have moved away from the city. Third question, could the conclusion different if the numbers were grouped it together? Think of this doctor's examination. Procedure A got win, procedure B got an overall wins. Look for the stories in subgroups and the overall numbers. Don't just carried away with the numbers. Now, come to the Montana problem. I'm going to ask you the same question. Which party do you think have won the election? Red or blue? Actually, blue party, Barack Obama won these elections. Elections are decided by voters, not by the land. Next time, when you come with any statistics, any numbers, or any charts, or any headlines, don't accept with the face value. Ask yourself, what is the story is being told? What story is being hidden? Flipping the narrative is not about rejecting the data. It is about reclaiming the truth inside the data. Thank you so much.